fantastic. And I also hope that the internet can hold up for the short presentation that I'm going to make this afternoon. But I've asked the host to inform me in case there's any hitch on your side. So I'm very happy to be here this afternoon, today at the forum, at this forum that's dedicated to natural law from a theoretical perspective, and at the same time also looking at ways to apply natural law to specific areas of life and law. My intention in this presentation is to share some ideas that I have come across in my work in the last 5 or 6 years, during which I have taught family law at Strathmore Law School. So ideas that are very much still in the making, in their development. And therefore, I do not intend to present a kind of nice, neat, concluded proposal to the problem I'm going to present and to try to address. What I simply intend to do is to highlight and to present some insights of a legal theory nature into the relation between the state and the family, as well as giving also ideas or thoughts that I have had over the last few years regarding how the family can be conceptualized in order to actually capture a true relation, a just relation between the state and the family. Therefore, what I'd be very grateful for at the end of this session, I'll make it very brief, is to have many questions from you, many ideas on how you think this proposal can be improved on, because it's meant to be a stepping stone for various projects that I've been trying to work on in the last few years, and especially that of coming up with a handbook on family law. In any case, being able to, present my family law lectures in a better way. I do not have a PowerPoint presentation, which I think is not a problem. So I'll present my ideas and then hope to get your ideas and your questions. Even as we go along, you can send them to me on chat, and I'll take note of them. And hopefully we can look at them all in this forum. In any case, I'll give you my contact so that you can contact me if you'd like us to have a further conversation about the topic at hand. So the family, as you know, I think this is really something that is obvious now, very well known, has been at the center of intellectual exchange in the last decade, especially in the last decade. So it forms very much part of our existence, yet the nature and the form of the family have gradually become elusive. In fact, you find that international, regional, and national legal instruments have sought a place for the family, yet they seem to progressively move away from any attempt to define the family, something which, of course, you find a bit paradoxical. So they seek to place the family somewhere, they seek to find a place for it, but then they kind of shy away. There's an attempt not to define the family in these legal instruments. So one of the issues that states have had to grapple with is their role towards the family. And you find situations where even in one particular state, you'd have 3 arms of government being at variance in their conceptualization of the place of the state in such matters. And of course, as we said earlier, also as regards the concept of family. So what is family? No one seems to understand what family is. So in my attempt to first and foremost look at the relation between the state and the family, I propose an epistemological method, meaning method of knowledge that is based on an analogy between the public trust concept of Joseph Sachs that's used in environmental law and the relation between the family and the state. What am I trying to say here? That just the mere fact of how the family relates to the state, a fact which has been captured in some constitutions, and here I refer to specifically to our constitution, Article 45, the Constitution of Kenya, sub-article 1, talks of the family as the natural and fundamental unit of society and the necessary basis of social order, and goes on to say that it shall enjoy the recognition and protection of the state. That has been captured in other legal documents here and there, but the one I want to use as an example is our own constitution. So what I'm trying to say here is that you have a relationship between humanity. So this is what I'm drawing rather from the public trust concept of Joseph Sachs. This is a resulting public trust, you would say, because it's one that is deduced from the facts of how the family relates to the state and how the state relates to the family. So my claim is that humanity, which is represented by the citizens of a country, entrusts the family, which is part of its patrimony, to the state for the benefit of the society. So humanity would thus be the settlor, the state would be the trustee, while the beneficiary would be and is actually the society. And then what's the object of this trust? What you have there is the family itself. Consequently, the state has certain obligations towards the beneficiary, that society, with regard to the family, which is the object of the trust. Then you then narrow that down to a fundamental obligation which the state as a trustee has regarding the recognition and the protection of the family. This obligation points to the fact that the family is a reality with a form and a substance that is capable of being recognized and protected. So we're looking at it as a resulting public trust that's for the benefit of the society and therefore for the benefit of the common good. Then the question arises as to whether the state has an obligation to recognize and protect any particular family form. Because now we're talking about different forms of family, and this is very much in current contemporary thinking regarding family law. We're talking about different forms. So does the state have an obligation to recognize and protect a particular family form? And we hold the answer to this question to be affirmative, to be in the affirmative, because it can only protect that which is defined. Otherwise, we'd be talking in absurdity, really, because if you cannot define what you're protecting, then how can you even come up with a system that protects, recognizes, and actually fosters that reality? So we're looking at a state here that is really proactive. It's not a passive state, it's an active state, that having recognized the importance of the family for the state, then has an active role in protecting the family. So what we're trying to say here then is that that family form which the state has an interest in recognizing and protecting for the benefit of the common good is a family that's outlined by certain fundamental features. And this is where then we draw on John Finnis's natural law method that is referred to as the central case. So what then we're saying here, what I'm saying here is that this family form that the state is obliged to protect, to recognize, to foster, is captured, would be captured by the central case of the family. Some of you may already be familiar with the central case of John Finnis. But in essence, what we're saying is that you have what would be an ideal version, or a version that contains all the elements that are fundamental to the reality in question. In this case, it's the family, that define that reality in question. And then you would have other instances of the same reality which would not be identified with the central case, but would be kind of diluted forms of the central case. So it's a method of academic inquiry. So at the end of the day, then what we'd have to do is to come up with those fundamental features. So then what's that family? But the point here would be that that central case of the family would be the object of that resulting public trust, which we're talking about here. So that the state would then be obliged, as I said earlier, to not only watch the dynamics of the family in a passive manner, kind of like standing on the sidelines, but would be called upon to actually seek out, protect, foster the family. And this would be a concept that would cut across the whole legal regime. So there's a need there, when studying and looking at different aspects of family law, there's a need there to come up with a concept that cuts across all the areas of law so they can speak to one another. And that's an inquiry that I'm in the process then of looking into, and we'll be very happy to hear any insights you may have and to share any ideas into further inquiry as to the proposal which I'm making. That's really what I had to present to you, a very short presentation. I don't know whether there are any questions or any ideas that you would like to contribute to this proposal that I make this afternoon. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much as well, Dr. Jennifer Gitahi, for the presentation. Are there any questions?
Thank you very much, Dr. Gitahi, for that presentation. I hope you can hear me. I have a question which would be, on top of the laws that are already in Kenya, what sort of laws would you envision that the ideal state would promulgate in order to support the central case of the family?
I'll take note of that. Is there any other question? Maybe we could take a few if there are, or contributions, and then we can address them.
You may proceed.
Okay, so that's a good question from my former student, former supervisee. Nice to hear her voice and to see that she's attending the Congress. A good question. It's a good question. It's a very practical question. It's a question that is quite broad also, that probably I would hesitate to answer at this point, because we're looking more at an overarching theory. It's a theory that is overarching in terms of how the state would relate to the family. So I would not be able to speak at this very moment to specific laws. The general idea here would be to kind of achieve a harmony within the laws where the family is actually fostered and protected. So you'd be looking at, for example, tax incentives. Maybe that could be a good example to use as a specific reference point in our legal system. You're looking at tax laws that actually foster and promote the family. That would give tax exemptions, for example, for families that have more children, that have more obligations, because in that way, they're actually contributing to the good of society. I don't know whether that answers her question, but that could be something along the line of that regarding a concrete and specific case scenario. So I will provide, maybe will be available only to those who are on Zoom, but I will provide my details, and then hopefully you can get in touch with me if you have any follow-up questions or ideas that could help me to develop the theory that I'm working on. Thank you very much.
Thank you as well.